to get going with this.
Yes. So I've been following you on social media for a little while, and I really like what you do. You and your wife as well. You've been quite active, and you've really changed your life. That's a story I'd like for you to share. What did you do only a few years ago? Like you've totally transitioned, and if you'd give us a bit of an overview of that new lifestyle.
For sure. Well, I'll kind of talk about where I was before all this, really, I guess. So, um, for people who have been following, maybe know a bit of my story. Originally, or I'd say about 2 or 3 years ago, I was working in the oil field. So I was constantly, and I live in New Brunswick, so I was constantly flying
Oh
back,
wow.
doing flying across the country each shift that we would have, and we would work for about 3 weeks on and then 1 week off, or sometimes it would be for a couple of months straight, and then come back home for a short period of time. And anyone who knows anything about the oil field right now, they know that it's not as great as it used to be. I remember growing up, it was a lot of people from here were like, oh, the oil field, that's kind of, you're going to
The
make tons of
future.
money and this, that, the other thing. But it's a very economy driven business, right? It's a commodity, and as long as everything is going well with the economy and going well with that particular industry, then it's great. But then when it does go down and they do have their dips, it gets a lot worse, right? So anyways, I was doing that, and I mean, I have a family as well, and a wife and stuff like that. So it was getting harder and harder, kind of, to leave and go away each time. So I decided that I was going to try something to kind of change everything around. And originally, my first thought was to get into flipping properties, but I had no idea how to do it. I didn't have enough money to kind of jump in and do it myself, right? Like right off the hop. So I actually got mentorship from Cashflow Tribe, and I believe you're a member, or at least
Yes.
you've been involved with Cashflow Tribe. So I started with that, and I started going to the weekly courses and stuff like that they had there, and I learned about wholesaling, right? And a strategy that I could use to kind of get involved and start building capital, so we could start doing more after the fact. And here we are, 2 years and a bit later, and I'm doing this full time and loving life.
Excellent. That's really exciting. So going from the oil fields, being away from home from your wife and kids quite a bit, and now doing wholesaling. So can you tell us more about wholesaling? I have some mentoring students, and last night I was on a call and they asked me, what's the deal with wholesaling? So I gave them my definition, but you're an actual wholesaler, so you have a much better definition, I'm sure.
Well, I'm not sure about that. Like, I wouldn't call myself a wholesaler. I have wholesale
Okay.
properties, but that is one of the strategies we do employ. So what wholesaling is essentially is, so what our business does relatively is just generates leads, right?
Okay.
So we find properties that people are looking to sell, that are either distressed, or the people have a reason for wanting to sell off market or quickly, right? So we'll basically advertise for those leads, and when we speak to the customer, we'll look at the property, analyze it, and determine what its best use is, and what the potential renovation costs are going to be, the fair market value, and after repair value and such. So we'll take all that information, and then we will determine what we can possibly spend to purchase that property, and potentially wholesale it, flip it, or keep it as a buy and hold, right? So when we analyze the property, if it's something that would be a good flip, we'll make sure that we, when we're offering, we leave a little bit of a spread that we could potentially wholesale it. Or the same thing, if it's a buy and hold that we don't want to keep, we make sure there's a little bit extra spread to wholesale that as well. So once we do get that property under contract, we'll do what we call a disposition, which is basically market that property to other investors that are either on our buyers list or into other wholesale groups like on Facebook and stuff like that, and see if somebody's looking to purchase it.
Excellent. And is it mostly single family homes or duplexes, or do you get into larger complexes, or?
Well, I mean, most of what we deal with is single family homes or duplexes. We have had several multifamilies as well, but like I'm sure you're aware, those are fewer and far between.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you know what I mean? It's not every day like a 8 or 10 or 12 or an up unit building is even going up for sale, right?
No, that's it.
So, and with the market the way it is right now, there's extremely high competition for all that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? The niche that we've carved out right now and that we've been doing well with is single family to up to fourplexes.
Okay, so falls under the residential financing as well,
Yeah.
which is easier to finance. I'm sure it makes things a bit quicker because I think that's part of the wholesaling is quick. Like you mentioned, there's some pain points that people need to move out. They're moving to a retirement home, a divorce. Like, what are the reasons why people would choose a wholesaler versus MLS and a realtor?
Well, I mean, there's been situations like we've bought like hoarder houses for one.
Yeah.
Realtors don't want to touch those.
Nope.
I mean, nobody really does, right? So it's just kind of an opportunity. Those we did buy one of the original, one of the first, actually the first deal that I did was a hoarder house that we bought.
Okay.
Looking back now, like at the time, I was just very, wanted to do a deal and get everything done. So we ended up doing a lot of the work ourselves, and I would do the same deal again today, but I would make sure somebody else was doing the work. Because it took us, I think, about 2 months to get this thing fully cleaned out.
Wow.
Like eight 40-yard bins. Like, it was crazy. There's, and when we looked at it, we're like, oh, it's not that bad. And, by the time we got it all out, it was a lot more than what we expected. But, hoarder houses, that's one of them. Just distressed properties that, have a lot of deferred maintenance, might not be in very good condition. A lot of times realtors want to sell something that's nice and crisp.
Turnkey.
Yeah. And realtors also, and I'm not saying they're doing it from a perspective where they're trying to deter the person from selling, but trying to get them the best price that they can get as well.
Absolutely.
So, a lot of times they'll, advise them to do a bit more repairs than they're maybe willing to do. And sometimes people are embarrassed, right?
Yeah.
You don't want people to come in and out of their property. They know that it's in rough shape, or they know it's whatever. They don't want to kind of be there and have people go in and out and just kind of expose themselves to that, right? Like I've had a few sales that it was just, they knew it was in rough shape. They had fell on hard times. They weren't able to actually sell on the market, and they were embarrassed, right? So, we were happy to kind of help them with that as well, right? Other situations, I guess, would be I've had a few that were people that wanted to buy another property, but they weren't able to get financing unless they got their previous property.
Oh yeah.
Right. So it was kind of a transition situation where they didn't want to take the risk in the seller's market to lose the property that they wanted. So essentially we bought it from them quickly so that they could do the turnover to their new property.
Cool. So you're really providing solutions. That's what I like about wholesalers. I know some people are like, oh, wholesalers do this, do that. But I find you're providing solutions. You're helping investors, of course, but also the people selling the properties. So there's really nice kind of human element. You're providing solutions that, like you said, people that have fallen onto hard times. I know I bought a house in Moncton and the roof hadn't been fixed and taxes weren't paid for 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously something was going on with that couple. And by buying it, I brought them out of a bad situation. But I'm not a wholesaler, or I don't do wholesaling. And yeah, my closing was 6 months. So I'm not sure how much I helped them, but in the end, it did help them out.
Well, exactly. And I think a lot of times, and I think the people that maybe frown upon wholesalers or look down on them don't see it from that other aspect.
No.
And they don't necessarily realize that money isn't always everyone's driver, right?
Nope.
Isn't everyone's, main concern, right? Like, I mean, yes, could they potentially do this, and this, put it up on the market and get a little bit
Absolutely.
more? Probably, right? But at the end of the day, if it's easier for them, who are you to say that they're stupid or that they're being ripped off or that whatever if that's what they choose, right? We definitely don't go into any situation attempting to try to undercut or be kind of slimy about anything, right? Like we go in there and try to provide solutions for people. And a lot of times, like, to be honest, I have told people like, maybe you're better off going with a realtor, or
Yeah.
maybe you're better off doing this. You know what I mean? We're trying to help and provide a service here. You know what I mean? And the last thing I want to do is ever have that reputation. We're in a small town here, right?
Yeah.
Like there's no point in trying to do that. You're better off just being human, trying to provide solutions. And in the end, you're going to do much better and have a longer standing business by doing that than you ever will by, getting a couple deals by trying to sneak something under the radar with people.
And you're in the business of people. So I know it's real estate, but it's really people building those relationships. Did you get referrals? I'm sure you get clients that know someone, and I'm sure that's happening.
Yeah, well, I mean, we did actually just get one referral. That recently. We actually did the closing and everything like that. We have yet to put it out yet, but we went and did a video with the person who gave us the referral, because we do actually offer referral bonuses. So if anybody does refer us to something that leads to a sale, we give them a bonus for that as well. So we just had to do a little video with that. It was really nice. I was really happy to go and have a nice conversation with somebody that referred our business, because I mean that's like the best part.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Those are the best possible ones, when somebody like sees what you're doing and likes it enough to refer somebody else to you. I mean, the bonus is neither here nor there. I don't think. I think that it's extremely valuable, and it made us feel really good that somebody was willing to refer our business, right? Because that's what it's all about.
Yes, absolutely. And now I think you have a whole team, or are you alone in this, or how does it work?
Well, we have a marketing team now that's kind of working with us. That's subcontracted out a lot of it, right? Because I've done a lot of marketing up to this point, and it's just I'm only one person, right? Like you can only do so much. My wife works with me here in the office, so she handles a lot of the admin kind of situations, like stuff here for the contracts, and kind of keeps up on all that. She answers the phones now for us as well, just to take the initial conversations. And we have a couple sales guys that are running around doing, their own lead generation tactics and kind of bringing deals back to us as well. So, we're slowly but surely growing and moving forward, right? Like it's an exciting time for our business right now.
Yes, absolutely. And so Moncton Home Buyer, do you focus only on Moncton, or Moncton and Riverview surrounding areas, or?
Well, we're trying to niche down for the most part. And like, I mean, we are doing Moncton, like Greater Moncton. So Moncton, Dieppe, and Riverview. But I mean, we're also looking at properties in Shediac or Capellet, Petitcodiac, up Salisbury area as well.
Like a 30-minute radius.
Yeah, roughly 50 kilometers from city center, right? So we'll go out to like the cottage country as well and stuff like that and look at properties. So we're not directly in Moncton for everything, but we do kind of mainly focus on Moncton because it's just they're easier sales for most people. When you try to talk to an investor who may be from out of town and you say, okay, well, I got a property in Capellet, they don't really necessarily know where that
No.
but when you say Moncton, they're like, oh yeah, I'd love to invest in Moncton.
Yes. Yeah, I totally get that. I'm in Ontario. I do have several properties in Moncton, and yeah, the Squiduk River, and I'm looked at the map. Where is that place? I don't get it, but it's very nice.
Exactly. And I mean, here is very different as well. Like, if anything outside of town within like the 30-minute radius, the price drops dramatically. The buyer pool drops relatively dramatically as well. The cash flow, and also the tenants to even get into places, that fluctuates quite a bit as well. So Moncton's kind of the safe bet for a lot of people here, even though I think that there is a lot of opportunity on the outskirts as well.
Yeah, so Moncton, I really like this city because it's very diversified, but I'm seeing more and more people investing in the smaller towns. You mentioned like Shediac. and cottage country as well. I was just on a call this morning with someone buying in, I think Shediac on the water. No, Kokang. I'm not sure where that is, but somewhere in New Brunswick. So not too far, I assume, from Moncton.
No, Coquin's is not too far from Shediac, actually.
Okay, so that area. Okay, I kind of get the gist of it. So, but property management as well, like in those more remote areas, that can be difficult. I know Moncton has a good selection, but when you get to Kokang or Shediac, are there good options or?
I would assume that most of them probably still would service those areas.
Okay, close enough.
Close enough, but I mean, it's definitely, if you're doing from out of town, like there are several other people too. And I mean, cottages usually are an Airbnb kind of situation.
Yeah.
Or I would assume would be a more so or a better option for those type of properties if you are looking for cash flow. And I know there are a couple of people here that are doing like short-term rental management and stuff like that as well, right? So, I could definitely, if anybody is looking for somebody like that, you can definitely get in touch with me after. I can direct you to some people for sure.
Excellent. That's great. And what about you, Shawn? What's your portfolio? What do you buy or own, or you don't keep anything? You keep it very lean.
No. Well, we just started kind of keeping some of them just because they were too good to really
pass. Yeah.
We're working on one right now that's going to be a 7-bedroom student rental in Sackville. That's like walking distance from the university, right? So, you know what I mean? And we picked it up for like a song. Like I think that all in, we're going to be all in for 170, I think, once it's rated and all that. So yeah, like we should be, that'll cash flow very, very well. We do have, I have a couple of mortgage assets where we bought the property and then we basically were the bank on it. So, we're getting paid the mortgage. And we are looking into other rental situations as well, but mostly we do wholesales and flips.
Okay. Yeah. And do you get into like private lending or like borrowing money from private lenders to secure certain deals or?
Yeah, well, I've done that before. We focus mostly on JV properties now. A lot of our partnerships are that way, and I like the kind of diversifying partnerships as well, and just kind of you know what I mean. You get that kind of thing going, then you never really worry about the finance, and you don't necessarily have to take on the risk of holding all that money too if you don't have a deal to put it in right away. But at the end of the day, like we look at the opportunity of the situation. And I mean, we are definitely looking at more private lending opportunities and trying to find more people that are interested in doing that. The issue that I found so far is either just lack of I guess, not knowing, right? Like not much of a relationship built up yet where there's that trust that you can just say, oh, hey, here, like, this is what it is. So we are working on things to kind of further that aspect of the business as well. And I'm sure that it's not going to be too difficult. I have quite a few people in our network here that have reached out to me about it in the past, but we've been mainly focused on creating the JV relationship. So, but yeah, definitely around the corner, I can see that happening for sure. Are you lending?
No, I borrow. I don't lend. Not yet. I am. I guess I could be starting to lend soon, but I prefer borrowing at this time. I'm in kind of like you acquisition mode.
Yeah.
I'm buying in different parts of Canada, USA, and other countries. Nice. So that's fun, but it needs a lot of money. So that's why I'm curious. But going back to JVs, so I do a lot of JVs as well, or corporate structures, different things. Do you mind describing a bit the structure of a joint venture, something? What's ideal for you in a JV?
What's ideal mostly for me is just a straight up money partner, right? Like at the end of the day, like any other way is just kind of a headache. And not saying that I have a headache, but I mean, the thing is, it's if you have, there's too many cooks.
It pulls every direction. And it's not good.
What I'll do is usually because we have the deal, we have the people to kind of put everything together, right? So what I usually look for is like, hey, like I'll present the deal. We'll still disposition it the same way we would if we were to do a wholesale. Basically, have our presentation of what the deal is and what we expect for an ROI, which is usually very conservative of what we actually end up getting. We'll present that to our potential JV partner, and they'll agree to put up the money plus renovations and all that. They basically handle all the money side of everything. So they'll purchase the property, they'll pay the carrying costs, deal with all the lawyers and everything like that. And then we'll deal with all the work on this end. And then once the deal's ready to go and we put it up for sale, all the calculations and everything get put into the pot basically. And at the end, whatever ends up being full profit, we split 50-50.
Okay, but they're short term then if they're already done. Okay.
Yeah. We aim for about 90 days full term.
Oh, okay. They're really short because mine are 5 years. So that's why I'm like 5 years. You're talking about selling them already. Great. So
Well,
90 days. That's cool.
If they were like multifamilies is a different story, right?
Yeah.
We would go in planning to purchase it and hold on to it for X amount of time, get cash flow. But where they're flips, you know what I mean? It's just a quick flip scenario, right?
Okay, you do JVs to finance your flips. Great. And are you doing kind of basement conversions, like adding basement suites, things like that?
Yes and no. Well,
or just a clean up, fix it up, increase value, and
for the most part, yeah. Like we'll just do the cleanup renovations. Like we try to focus mostly on cosmetic flips, right? So we'll go and do flooring, paint, maybe update a bathroom or a kitchen or something like that. But full gut job renovations we kind of try to avoid, especially if the renovation cost is more than 50% of what you purchased the property.
Crazy now.
Right? Like, well, it can get up there really, really quick, right?
Oh, yeah.
And the thing is, I have construction background, or at least, I used to do a business where I was a handyman, right? So I did a lot of jobs, and I had to price a lot of different jobs. So this transition was relatively easy for me because I can walk into a property and I can generally assume what it's going to cost to do a lot of the renovations, right? So we'll work that out, and that ends up being pretty good. But I remember back in my days of doing that, I used to tell everybody when I would go to do a job for them, it would be like, okay, well, this is the estimate I can give you, but if I have to open a wall or if I have to dig, it can change drastically very quickly, and you need to understand that, right? Because the thing is, it's really at the end of the day, once you open up a wall, you don't know what you're going to run into.
Could be rot, could be electrical behind plumbing, all twisted around it, or asbestos, or who knows?
Who knows, right? And the thing is, like, I'm not the type of person to just close it up, and forget about it, right? Like, if you run into a problem, job, you have to deal with it, right? Like, do what you're doing properly.
Yeah, no, it's so true. Like you said, reputation. I did spend the summer in Moncton, and people are super friendly, but it is very much a small town feel, even though it's a big city. Well, fairly big. I mean, 150, 170, I think, with Dieppe and Riverview, which it's a decent size, but it feels like a village. People know each other. And of course, I had my Ontario license plate, so people were pointing us out.
Yeah.
And the bright yellow car, of course, hard to miss. But I love that flavor. But again, your reputation is huge. And in the whole world of real estate investing, it is a very small community.
Yes.
So like all across Canada, the name gets around. So if you don't do good things, it's not great. Yeah.
Well, and like that, you're not going to have any longevity that way.
No.
Right. So, you know what I mean? We try to very much make sure that we are doing everything as cleanly as possible, as transparent as possible. We want to be referred. We want to have further business. We want to do business with others, right? Like, so we're always trying to make sure that our reputation stays top of the top shelf, right?
No, and I really admire that. That's really excellent. So what's next for you? What do you see in 2022? We're kind of near the end of 2021. In a way, I'm happy, but in a way, I mean, there's still lots to do in the next few months. But what do you plan in the future?
Well, we, like I said, we're looking at, well, not looking into. We're actually in the process of expanding the business out. We've created 90. I'd say we're at about 90% for all our processes and stuff like that. So just trying to find the right people to put into the right positions and grow the business so we can. We're trying to double our year next year.
Excellent.
So, yeah, we're trying to get to 48 deals next year. So
wow.
yeah, we're just trying to get everybody plugged into the right spots and continue to grow.
That's excellent. And where do you see that growth happening? In the same market, just with a bigger team, more of a marketing machine, something like that? Or
Well, we did some calculations to determine what like the total addressable market is here and what we could expect.
yeah,
Which is roughly about 48 deals in a year is probably the top of our
sustainable. Okay.
sustainable market, right? So, anything beyond that, once we reach that goal, then we're expanding out.
You need to go to St. John and other cities and areas because
Yeah.
you're going to run out of properties.
Well, and I mean, we've been back and forth with this with our mentorship group and stuff like that, and roughly the total addressable market for anyone or any individual would be about 1% of what the sales are.
Okay.
So that's kind of how we would determine it, right? So once we get beyond that point, there's only one way to go. But I enjoy kind of staying here and not trying to rush myself out too quickly, because then you can find where you can take all your processes and you can basically break them.
Yeah, totally.
Figure out where they break and what you need to reinforce and redo before expanding out. And then once you expand out, because you're going to have so much less control in those situations, right? Because you're not going to be able to be there at all times to do that. So, it's definitely exciting. It's definitely a great thing that's happened over the last few years. Like, as much as COVID has been a terrible thing and detrimental to a lot of people, it's actually, I can't complain about the situation that it's brought on, right?
Yeah, same for me. I mean, the growth, because more time now I don't have a job, but I used to have a job. So I saved all that time commuting. Then I got focused in my business. Same with you. I'm sure you focus more on your business. Mm-hmm. Can't go out. Well, whatever, I'll work on my deals, meet people online. Yeah. And it's been beneficial in many ways. And it's changed the mindset too. People are open to chatting with people all over the place online, all age groups, even like seniors. Everybody's more open to it, which was not common just 2 years ago. So
no, not at all. And I've noticed that as well. Like, I mean, it's so much easier to just say, hey, I want to hop on a Zoom call, right? Like, whereas before it was almost an awkward kind of situation. But like now, like most of the people that I deal with or meet with is in this fashion, right? Which is a very different thing for the last few years. But I think it's also for those who've adopted it easily, it's helped them grow, exponentially over the last little while.
Yeah, it's like endless. It seems you can go so many directions, but you have to choose. And I really admire what you do and being narrowly focused. That's the true key to success. I have the opposite. I have the shiny penny syndrome. Here's a project in Portugal, Japan, and China, and wherever. So it's good to be focused. So good job on that. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Do you have any final word of advice, something you would tell investors that they should look for? Or
well, if anybody's starting out and hasn't had success yet, just keep going. It's possible. Like we mentioned earlier, like I've only been at this for a couple of years now, and I've been able to quit my job and focus on this full time. So it's definitely possible. Like if anybody else if you are in the Moncton, New Brunswick area, we'd love to chat. If you're interested in getting involved in real estate investing and maybe interested in joining the team, or if you're looking to buy, sell, or invest here, we'd love to talk to you as well.
That's excellent. Well, thank you so much, Shawn. And what's the best way to reach you for those that are listening in audio? I see your email address your handle. So what's the best way?
The best way to reach me is probably on Facebook, which you can just find me on my name here. Just shoot me a message on Messenger. or on Instagram, and that's my handle there, at the Moncton Home Buyer.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. It was a pleasure, and I hope to be able to see you in person in Moncton at some point. I am visiting in the next little while, so hopefully we can catch up and do some business.
That would be fantastic. Thanks for having me, Francois.